Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Glad that you could join us today. In studio today with us is returning guest Claudia Sanborn, a registered nurse of more than 22 years and also a published author, the author of The Yellow Sick Road, a book in which she talks about her 22-year journey as a registered nurse and some of the bullying and hostility that she found in the workplace that caused great pain. Many of nurses have been put in harm's way simply at the whim of a bully. How are you doing today, Claudia?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for returning. Now, you are the author of The Yellow Sick Road. It rings of The Wizard of Oz. Could you talk a little bit about the book and why you wrote the book?
Yeah, I wanted my book to be a little more whimsical and not, I know there's some other bullying books out there and they're just a lot of scenarios and, like complaining and I wanted this to be, just a little lighter. And I had a travel contract in Washington DC, went to the museum and saw the ruby slippers and just got fascinated, read every single thing I could on the Wizard of Oz. And I wanted to use some of the characters that reminded me in my working journey, of some of the people that I worked with and the characters in the Wizard of Oz. Like, the Emerald City represents the hospital, the CEOs are like Oz, and the flying monkeys, the aides, the charge nurse, the wicked witches of the East and West, and there were also some of the good witches. And I've tried to incorporate some of the good characteristics that I tried to get as I went on my journey, as far as Tin Man, the Brave, the Lion. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and tried to incorporate some of those characters and qualities.
Did you decide to go the whimsical route because there was so much, ugliness in your experience as far as bullying among the nursing staff by management and by fellow nurses? Is that why you took the whimsical route, or was it simply just using metaphor and delivering a message in that style?
Oh, kind of both. Mm-hmm. Both the metaphor and being able to portray and visualize what it was like after experiencing some of those things that happened to me. And I didn't want to come across cruel. And so I just thought, I'm just going to use some of these characters because everyone seemed to be fairly familiar with that book, and so they could visualize it in a more interesting way of reading.
Yeah. And it is such a serious issue that, we hear all about the coalitions to combat bullying in school and to combat bullying on social media among teens. But this is such a serious issue in the workplace as far as you're concerned that you've begun working with legislature to actually create laws that curb the tide of this seemingly rampant hostility in the workplace. Is that a correct assumption? Can you talk a little bit about how you're trying to change the legislature so that it falls in the favor of those that are subject to be bullied?
Yeah. Well, I belonged to this committee for several years, and we've been working with legislature, and we finally got the definition of bullying, and we passed an amendment, and this is the first step. I have been to workshops, I have been to counseling, management has had training, and I don't really think any of that works. I think they need to make laws that make it a misdemeanor, and that people will employees can get fined and have taken out of their wages, because when they do leadership classes to management, all it really does is document that they were taught. But as far as them following up on any of those, I don't see it. I haven't seen that it's made any difference. I've been a director of nursing before. I've been an assistant director. I've been in almost all facets of the medical field, and I think the bottom line is it just needs to get to where it's against the law.
Now, what type of grassroots efforts have you been involved in? Really getting the community involved, other than publishing your book. You say you've been to these workshops. Are you conducting any talks on your own, or going from hospital to hospital, talking to fellow nurses about what you've discovered, what you're working toward, and also giving copies of your book, or at least telling them the contents of your book so they can get some ideas about their own situations?
I had a very positive experience, and I live in a little small town. The administrator that was over the hospital of this incident that happened to me quite a few years ago came up to me out of the clear blue, and he said, "I want to apologize for what we did to you." And I said, "Do you realize my book is out?" And he said, "I don't know about your book, but I just want to tell you that I'm sorry." And to me, that was worth me writing the whole book, to get that administrator to say that to me.
And because there has to be a high-reaching level of secrecy and subterfuge involved for this to have been kept quiet for so long. And would you agree in that there's maybe a secrecy or some type of code of silence when it comes to the bullies?
I think he explained to me, he said, I just try to support, the people that are under him. And I said, well, I think that you should bring in the person that you're concerned about and get their feedback too, and that some people need to have a lot of testing, whether or not they're management material, and some just aren't. Some have a lot of issues and baggage that they take into their jobs, and they take it out on their employees. And I didn't talk to him for very long. I am a little fearful in getting my book out in the community because there is a hospital that is in the community, and I don't want to be sued. But I am so intense about it that and feel like I need to do it, that I'm taking the risk to do this book and put it in the community, and hopefully, I'm okay as far as legally.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard. It's been a pleasure speaking with Claudia Sanborn. Our registered nurse has been a registered nurse for more than 22 years and has published the book, The Yellow Sick Road, where she outlines her journey as a nurse and also talks about the, culture of bullying and hostility when it came to dealing with nurses for any number of reasons at any level in their careers. And she's hoping that her book will open eyes and cause other people to look at their situations and possibly even work with law enforcement and legislature to outlaw what she terms as bullying in the workplace. It's been great having you here with us again today, Claudia.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm, and you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.